So I met Jeanette when I was working on a story about the tech startup culture, and she was sort of my guide into it. She was my intro. So I was hoping that she could kind of play that role for those of us who might not know what's going on in Arkansas. So can you talk just a little bit about some of the exciting startups that Arkansas?
Certainly. The first slide that you see here, I just sort of put a conglomeration of all the different types of things that are happening in this tech startup scene and just the startup scene in general. You can see that there's Gone in 60 Seconds, we have Tech Fest, we have plenty of conferences and events, placemaking, as well as programs that encourages entrepreneurs to take that leap and to go on their own and to build their businesses. As you can see at the top, we've got the ARC Challenge, which is a tech accelerator. We have Razor Hack Hackathon, an event that will be happening coming up on the 29th that allows tech developers to tackle a problem together. And it's a 24-hour hackathon. What we've been trying to do is, through grassroots efforts as well as through publicly funded programs, is to provide as many opportunities as possible for smart people to get in the same room together, to collaborate, to co-work, to co-found companies, and to help one another grow through support and resources.
Can I interrupt you briefly? I think maybe for some people that aren't as familiar in the tech scene, can you say what does hack mean? What does co-work mean? These are words that we use a lot.
Right. It's true, and once you're sort of steeped in that culture, I forget that those are sort of foreign terms, but to hack is actually just a term to solve problems. So figuring out different sort of solutions to solve any problem, whether that is to create an app for an existing problem in one of many industries, or it could just be using inventiveness or resourcefulness to figure that out. Often we use hack to talk about coding websites or applications to solve a problem. A hackathon, going with that same definition, is an event where, again, everyone gathers around, tackles a problem, and goes into different groups to find solutions for that. So what you'll see here, there's so many programs. We have pitch contests. It's all about idea generation. It's all about coming together with your peers, whether or not that's in shared workspaces or just maybe tech drinks or an event at a bar where you can actually talk about what projects you're working on, what ideas you might have, and also talk to people who could be tackling the same problems, who could help you overcome those obstacles. Again, we sort of segment all these things into events, programs, and placemaking. The Iceberg Co-working is a co-working space that's about 5,600 square feet in downtown Fayetteville, and it allows people to have very affordable workspace. They can just set up a laptop, their high-speed Wi-Fi, there's many office amenities, and it allows you to work on your projects and also to work with other people who are trying to build their own companies or launch their own ideas. So that's where the co-working space, the co-working aspect comes into play.
And the idea is that proximity, you know, sometimes breeds ideas and...
Correct. And so you could be working in a space, and because just by the nature of the space where it's all open lounges or tables that are just a few feet from one another, if you're having a problem, it's very easy to reach out to the desk mate or someone who's just across the room to see if they've encountered that problem and to hack a solution together. Aside from that, we've got pitch contests like Gone in 60 Seconds. It's an elevator pitch contest that happens usually quarterly. It's the brainchild of Jeff Amrine, who's actually one of the other honorees in the Arkansas Influentials issue. But the idea with that is to bring together entrepreneurs, to bring together investors, and to bring together business people. And each team gets 60 seconds to pitch their idea, and then everyone in the crowd uses sumo text and puts themselves in the place of an investor. And if you would be interested in hearing more, you vote yes, that you would want to hear more. And so what it does, it creates this high energy, and it's what Jeff calls Shark Tank meets American Idol. So people go up, they share their ideas, they get crowd reaction, and they get to really figure out, okay, does this have legs? Does this have traction? And it also helps people overcome the anxiety of going out there and really, really presenting their idea out to the world. Often people will come up to them after the pitch contest and they'll provide them with resources that helps them take the next step. So what you see here are tech fests, they're one-day conferences, there could be two-day conferences, there are different ways, even just Facebook groups. Melissa, who is just right here, after Barcamp Conway, she decided we should get together and get women coders in Arkansas to get together and do meetups and talk about what we're doing and help one another learn code. And so she is a community organizer right here among us, as all of these efforts have been just created by people who have an idea, who want to find like-minded people, and they're figuring out different events or programs where people can get together and work on those.
Yeah, so a lot of these are about, you know, the networking that makes these ideas happen. Can you talk about just a few of the tech companies who are a little bit established, who are serving as mentors in the community generally, and then the ARC Challenge, which we're going to talk about in great detail?
Right. Innovate Arkansas is actually a U.S. program of Winrock International, and it's a program that's dedicated to incubating and mentoring companies that are in the technology field. And so you have different mentors that work with these companies, and they'll go through their business model, they'll help network them with investors, they'll ask them the hard questions that need to be asked so that they can prepare themselves to launch their companies towards success. So just with Innovate Arkansas alone, we have a number of companies that are doing really, really well. We've got TAG, which is a social data analytics company that provides information to big brands and sort of gives them an idea using information from Twitter and from Facebook and cross-referencing those things to other databases. They're able to report to clients like P&G what are the insights that people are saying through these social media feeds. Mobile Forward is a company that was started by two developers, actually a graphic designer and a developer in Northwest Arkansas, Joey Nelson and Matt Hudson. And Adam Hardy is a developer who's recently joined them. But they actually created Trivial. So it's trivia and it's social. So it's a Trivial app, which you can download in the iTunes store.
It's habit forming.
It is habit forming. It's quite addictive. And then in this room alone, and you'll hear from them later, we have a number of startup companies, and they're being mentored by people like Ben Tron from Clout.com. We have a number of national mentors who are coming in and working with our companies. We've got John James, another honoree who owns Acumen Brands, that's working with people who are in the retail space. We have a number of startup attorneys like Jamie Fugit, and we have Stephen Brooks, as well as Jim Smith, who's working with our startups. Because with every single one of these startups, there are a number of issues that you have to tackle, which is why co-working and networking like this is good for our companies. You have to figure out, okay, what is my entity selection? How am I going to do my financials? What does an investor pitch look like? Do I have a solution that actually has a problem, or do I just have something that I've created in my mind without any sort of market validation? These are all the types of things that co-working, the ARC Challenge, Tech Accelerator, Tech Drinks, Tech Fest, we're trying to create, again, as many opportunities as possible for budding entrepreneurs, for growing entrepreneurs, and for veteran entrepreneurs to work with one another and to speak to one another and use those experiences to help them. Privacy Star is another exciting company that's here in Little Rock. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you go to innovation.arkansasbusiness.com, you'll be able to see all of Innovate Arkansas's clients. And it's not just tech. There's rebounces, there's all sorts of companies there's nanotechnology companies, there are companies that are able to take cycle wood and create sustainable solutions for creating durable goods from more sustainable materials.
But before we talk in more detail about the ARC Challenge, I wondered if you could just kind of define what a tech accelerator is, what the idea of an incubator is.
Mm-hmm. What an accelerator is, it's a program that is mentorship driven. That's how we define the ARC Challenge. It's a mentorship driven business acceleration program that's targeted towards tech entrepreneurs. It's 14 weeks in length, And what we do is we gather these mentors who have deep expertise in each of their industries. We in particular, the ARC Challenge, since we are located in Northwest Arkansas, we're focused on retail, transportation, logistics, as well as food processing. And that's because we just have a treasure trove of mentors who've traveled here from all over the country, from all over the world, who know about each of those industries. So we thought as a group, and to advance regional competitiveness, why don't we bring tech companies that have lower barriers to entry into those markets to serve those three clusters, and also focus on tech because it allows you to create something in such a short period of time. We only have 3 months. We in particular are we've just finished our 7th week, so we're halfway through the process. And the ARC Challenge is divvied up into 3 different sections. We've got our mentorship dating period, our mentor dating period, where we're actually looking at and defining the direction of these companies. We had over 83 applications from 14 different countries and from 14 different states, and they were all people who had an idea to innovate in one of those 3 industries, and they were either a website or a mobile app. And what we've done is that even though they sort of came into the process with a particular idea, we put it to the test. We have mentors who talk to them about the idea, who again ask the hard questions. We had Ash Maurya, who's the author of Running Lean, come and talk to the companies and think about, okay, what is my unfair competitive advantage? What's very unique about this problem? What other problems or alternatives are there for this particular solution? Not just that, but who are my customers? How much is it going to cost for me to do this? And what are my revenue streams? And so in that first section of the accelerator program, it's very program heavy. We have people talking to them about, again, entity selection, about customer development, about how do you launch a mobile app, about PR, about marketing, all of the business building blocks. And we encourage people to talk to as many investors, as many prospective customers, as many mentors as possible. And all this feedback sort of, it can be overwhelming at times, but for our founders, we feel like it makes them stronger. It really makes them question about, what am I doing? Can this scale? And so we've just finished that period, and people are actually asking certain mentors out of our 50+ mentors, who are going to be the people that I have a natural chemistry with to help me through the rest of this process. In the second phase, it's actually development phase. So you see the number of programs drop, and this is when, if any of you come to visit us in Fayetteville, the Iceberg, everyone's got headphones on, and they're really in the trenches, and they're building the code, or they're meeting the designers, they're looking at their UI, or their user interface, or their user experience, and they're really trying to map out, what does this look like on a phone, on a website? And then the last portion, and we actually work on this throughout the program, but in October, that's when we really, really focus on perfecting the pitch. Each of our founders, and you'll hear in just a little bit, 60-second pitches from each of our founders, but again, it's all about communication. If you have an idea, that's commoditized, and it doesn't mean anything unless you can put it out there into the world and make people understand what you're trying to do. And so the 60-second pitch, it sort of differs whether or not you're talking to prospective customers or someone that you're wanting to invest $200,000 and upwards into your idea to see it come to fruition. And so there's a 60-second pitch as well as an investor pitch. And again, it's sort of that Shark Tank mentality where we'll have pitch practices, and you'll see us go through all 15 teams, and people have 5 to 8 minute pitches. And everyone is refining and trying to make it better so that when they get to the point where they launch these companies, or they are talking to a PR person, they know how to target that message to the companies. They're clear about what value they bring to the table, and they also are very, very forthright about what the ask is, whether that's an investor or a call to action to a customer to come to the website and to sign up.
Just to step back briefly, the model that the ARC is following is a tested model that's happening all over, it's happened all over the country.
It's true. We are a member of the Global Accelerator Network, and that is a network that's based on the Techstars model. So you may or may not have heard of Techstars. There's a Techstars Boulder, there's a Techstars Boston, and there's a Techstars New York. And this sort of 12 to 14 week acceleration model that's driven by volunteer mentors has worked time and time again to build these companies from scratch, whether or not you're at concept stage when you apply to the accelerator, or maybe you've been working on this idea for a year and just haven't had the mentorship to help you take that idea to the next level. So Techstars, yes, it's been going on since 2007, and it's something that we wanted to bring to Arkansas, especially because we saw that we had all the tools necessary, all the expertise necessary to be able to make that happen here.
And then Y Combinator, which is similar, has companies like Dropbox have been born from there.
Yes.
Some things that at least the relatively web savvy among us have probably heard of.
But Dropbox, SendGrid, you know, any of these sort of services that people take for granted they use, they've all started somewhere. These billion-dollar companies started with 2 people with an idea working out of their kitchen until they had enough space and enough bravery to go out on their own. And so what these tech accelerators do is by providing mentorship, by providing investment, the ARC Challenge actually provides a little bit over $18,000 as incentive to bring these teams to quit the job, to sort of leave behind the 9 to 5, and to have enough courage to go out there and pursue those ideas. So when you look at these pitch contests, when you look at Tech Fest or Tech Drinks, that's when people start talking about the idea, and these programs really empowers these aspiring entrepreneurs to be actually doing it, to make that commitment. We have founders who have talked their significant others, or they may have a child at home, and they are really dedicating themselves to come to the program, put their all into making this happen, and to get their business ready to ask either for the funding that they need or to actually launch and start gaining customers to be self-sustainable.
So you've talked a lot about the details around the ARC. I just want to get you to fill in a few gaps. Can you talk about the funding, where that comes from?
Correct. This has been an idea that's been in the minds of the folks at Innovate Arkansas. Christian Anderson is actually one of our mentors. He owns K&A Plus Associates, and then he also has got Gravity Ventures, which is an angel fund here that he operates or works with a group to operate in Indianapolis and now also in Northwest Arkansas, or in Arkansas in general, because they fund a number of companies. But he sort of came up with this idea of an accelerator that was around our 3 industries. But the question was, how do we get the operations costs? And so the Department of Commerce actually had a Jobs and Innovation Acceleration Challenge and had a call for proposals to advance regional competitiveness. And it was a call for proposals that fit like a glove to what we were trying to do with the ARC Challenge. And so Innovate Arkansas actually coordinated with the University of Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas Community College to come together and to create a coordinated proposal to increase economic opportunity for tech entrepreneurs. And so what resulted from that is that the Department of Commerce actually awarded the ARC Challenge as one of 20 projects nationwide to actually go forward. And so it's a $2.1 million grant, and half of that funding went directly to Northwest Arkansas Community College to help us solve the technology gap. So one portion of it, the accelerator, is to recruit talent, to cultivate the talent that's here, and to launch companies. And the other portion of it is going to training and education, so that as these companies rise and grow, that we have the homegrown workforce to actually support the growth of those companies. So there are different classes like Ruby on Rails, or HTML5, or iOS development, and Northwest Arkansas Community College is actually offering those classes for free to residents of Northwest Arkansas and some of the surrounding counties. And so again, it's...
And the other half of the money went to the ARC.
Yes.
And you have enough money for 2 years, is that correct?
Correct. So we are finishing up program number 1, and then after these 15 companies sort of present their companies at Demo Day on November 8th at Crystal Bridges in Bentonville, we'll be calling open applications again to pick 15 companies for our next program.
And remind us what the 15 companies get.
Again, the 15 companies get over $18,000, and so that allows them to invest in their companies and to work on that for the full 3-month period. You also get access to mentors. We have 50 plus with incredible business people like Collins Hemingway will be here in mid-October. We had Phoebe Espiritu, who is a manager for Hackstars for Techstars New York. We have lots of really, really incredible regional mentors who are in the co-working space every day, talking to each of the companies and asking how they can help them. And it also gives you a platform. It gives you a platform to tell your story. It gives you a platform to talk about your solution and to gain customers, because especially for this inaugural cohort, as a founder, as part of the ARC Challenge, it means a lot for this state. It means a lot for the direction that we can go. And so there's a lot of PR opportunity as well as fast-track networking that you wouldn't otherwise receive. In addition to that, you get support from a design side, from a programming side. You'd be surprised at how many people are really, really attracted to this idea and they want to help a fellow entrepreneur. A lot of this is based on the goodwill of the professionals that we're working with, of our mentors, and just peers within the co-working facility. There's been a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring that we weren't quite counting on, but that has been a very, very strong force in how these companies are developing and how they're helping one another.
So is Demo Day like a film festival where you have big studios coming in and buying the most promising films? Is it similar? Do you invite big-time investors to come?
Yes, we have room for 300 people in the Great Hall, and we're wanting to fill that as much as possible with angel investors, with venture capitalists, with people who want and are looking forward to good deal flow from Arkansas and from this talented group of people. And so each of these pitches, you'll hear the 60-second, but there'll be extended investor pitches, and it will talk about who the team is, what's the value, what problem is there, and what solution are they bringing to the table. It'll talk about customer traction. They'll be talking about their ask, like what is sort of their timeline, and then also the amount of funding that they need to really finish out that vision and to continue to grow the company. Of course, we'll also have community members. We'll have our business mentors. It's going to be a highly energetic day, and it will be the culmination of all the work that these co-founders have put into this program from day one. So it'll be 14 weeks of work. And what the idea about this accelerator, it's cramming years of business training, of investor training, of pitch training, all into a very condensed period of time. And so it's a high-stress situation, but we found that everyone's rising to that occasion.
We're going to hear from a number of the teams momentarily, but can you talk generally about the makeup? Are these mostly from Arkansas? Are they from elsewhere? Is it mostly men? Are there women?
We have, of our 15 companies, 8 companies are from within Arkansas.
Was there any sort of requirement from the funding that the breakdown include a number from Arkansas?
Not necessarily, but it's important to differentiate between the funding sources. Like we have the grant funding that actually takes care of the program operations, but then all of the investment that goes directly into the companies, the $18,000 that we talked about earlier, that has all been raised from private investors and from different groups here within Arkansas. So Winrock International Investments Committee, we have ADFA, Arkansas Development Finance Authority, we have Fund for Arkansas's Future, we have Gravity Ventures, and we actually have a number of individuals who've stepped up and put their own personal money into this project so that they can invest in all 15 of these portfolio companies. And so, having said that, it is, I'm sorry. I lost track.
Oh, no. I was just asking about the breakdown. You said there were 8 from Arkansas.
Correct. Okay, so out of the 15 companies, 8 are from within Arkansas and 7 are from outside of Arkansas. So we have a group that's come to us from Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a group from Boca Raton, Florida, Manhattan, New York, Berkeley, California, Kansas City, Missouri, and then we also have a team from Bangalore, India, as well as a team from Singapore via Startup Chile. So we have a very interesting complexion of co-found, like as an aggregate, as a whole. People are bringing lots of different experience to the table. And also the age range, it's anywhere from 23 years old to early 40s. Yes, the majority of them are men. That seems to be a trend in tech companies, but you're seeing that change. We actually have 4 female co-founders that are doing an incredible job as well.
Okay, well, let's bring some up and hear their pitches and then talk to them more about their experience.
Sounds good. We're actually going to go in alphabetical order according to company names. We have 5 companies here, and the first one that you'll be hearing from is Lawson Hembry with Agricultural Food Systems.
Good afternoon. Have you ever purchased an expensive steak thinking it was tender and were disappointed after taking a bite and realizing the meat was tough? What if there were a way to ensure that the meat you purchased was tender? I'm Lawson Hembry, CEO of Agricultural Food Systems. AFS is focused on transforming the way that food quality is measured by providing technologies that increase value and build trust among producers, processors, and consumers. Our primary target market is the 4 largest beef processors in the United States, which comprise 83% of the beef market. If they can meet consumer demand for tender meat, they can earn over $75 million apiece in additional annual revenue. AFS allows them to do so with its first product, the Tender ID, a handheld technology that predicts the tenderness of raw beef carcasses on the production line. We plan to lease the Tender ID for 3-year periods, growing income to over $8 million with a 50% ROI by year 5. We're currently seeking investment as well as talented advisors. If you're interested, we can discuss the juicy details later over a tender steak. Thank you.
Lawson is from Siloam Springs here in Arkansas. Now we're going to hear from Pablo Arellano Jr. He's here from Cincinnati, Ohio, and his company is called Earn and Play.
Hello, my name is Pablo Arellano Jr., and I'm co-founder of Earn and Play. Since we're here at the Festival of Ideas, I thought it'd be convenient to talk about our brain. Our brain actually has a shorter attention span every single day. In fact, the BBC News says that our shorter attention spans are not of 20 minutes, not of 10 minutes, or even 1 minute, but currently it's of 9 seconds, because we have so much stuff coming at us on a day-to-day basis. So many different types of messages such as LinkedIn invites, tweets, to even television commercials. Earn and Play is a mobile platform, and we bring the consumer and we bring the brand together at the grocery store where both parties make money. It's so successful that we're actually working with Procter & Gamble because they want to be our first customer starting on December 3rd. If any of you are interested in making money at the grocery store shelf, please talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
Good job, Pablo. Okay, so now we have Mine What. We've got Ram, who will be telling us about his app.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not going to do an investment pitch here. I'm pretty much going to tell you how much it's useful for the users like you. So let's ask ourselves a question that when we buy a product online, we spend a lot of time, and finally we realize it does not fit our need. And there is a clear gap between what products brands produce and what we buy, what we want from the brands. So we at MindWhat understand the user perspectives, by means of understanding the social data in terms of interest, personality, and taste, and we suggest you the products based on that. So that's we do at MindWhat. So you can check it out at mindwhat.com, and you can get the products of your taste and interest. Thank you.
Next, we have Referral.
Hi, my name is Zach Hill, co-founder of Referral.com. I recently got married, and that meant that all the cool stuff that I got through college and my bachelor years, I had to get rid of it. So in this process, I realized that it's kind of a hard thing to do. You know, Craigslist is full of kind of weirdos and you don't know who you're dealing with, and that's not my style. And then, you know, eBay's a little overcomplicated for the few things that I needed to get rid of. So that's where referral.com comes in. What we're building is a social trusted network for you to post an item in one place and share it across all of your social networks that you have for sale. And then what we do that's most unique is we offer an incentive. We allow you to say, I'm going to offer $20 or however much is up to you to help me sell this item. So that gives incentive for your friends to share that item on so it sells faster. So we're about a few weeks from launching. So if you go to referral.com, you can sign up now and we'll notify you when we're up and running. Thank you.
And finally, we have Truckily.
Hello, my name is Derek Keene and I'm one of the co-founders of Truckily. And when you're a retail business, one of the most important things you have is your location. When you're a mobile vendor and you're moving around constantly, you have to consistently update your users and your customers to let them know where you're at. What we're doing is we're building a community that brings the food trucks and the diners like ourselves together so that no matter where they are, they can update us so we can get the best food possible. Currently, we are in a beta stage, so we are about to launch our app, which you can see on the screen there. And if you'd like to be a part of the food movement where you can get more food variety at every location, feel free to stop by Truckily and sign up. Thank you.
Well, I wonder if I can ask all of you to come back up here and talk with us a little bit. You know, I don't know that all of you have to answer every question. If you're inspired, please step up. I'm interested in whether or not you guys came to the ARC with the business idea that you're currently pushing.
I believe all of us are.
Yeah.
I believe in this group here, but there's been a few that have changed.
Yes, we've actually had 2 of our 15 companies make significant pivots where the idea that they applied with is completely different than the idea that they're going to be pitching. And again, that happened in the first phase. They did customer development, realized that it may have been a solution without a problem, and then they pivoted accordingly, and now they're on a much better path.
So were there any of those or others who you said, we like the people, we're not sure about the idea, but we're going to approve them anyway?
Yes, a big portion of the selection process was looking for a team that could execute, as well as an idea that was innovative. But we were really, above all, looking for a solid team that we saw had a history of making things happen and also seemed like they had very, very strong team dynamics. Because overall, people invest in people, people build these solutions, and we wanted to be sure that we had strong teams.
This might be a question to hear from all of you briefly, but can you just talk about how you heard of the ARC Challenge and came to apply?
I'll start things off. I heard about it.
Maybe step up.
So we did in-store testing at the Kroger Corporation in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we knew that in order for us to become successful, we needed to work with a partner in order to look potentially scarce. So it was a no-brainer we read about it on TechCrunch, and we knew, voila, our challenge works with Walmart. Walmart's a great vendor to work with on this initiative, and therefore is why we have so much interest moving forward.
TechCrunch is one of the foremost tech publications where a lot of these startups get their news.
Yeah, our company heard about it. We were an Innovate Arkansas client already, and so when the Innovate Arkansas and Winrock received the funding from the U.S. government, we immediately contacted Jeff Amorine, and we're like, we want to be a part of this. And so when the application process opened up, we applied quickly, and then we're able to make it onto the ARC.
We actually met Jeanette at a conference in Omaha, and she told us about the ARC Challenge that was going on, and told us that they're focusing on transportation, logistics, retail, and food. And since part of what we're doing is creating a logistical path for trucks to be more profitable, that kind of fit in because it encompasses all 3. So we applied, and we're happy to be here. Thanks.
Many of the people on our team are local, and we already were developing websites. And so we're kind of in touch with what was going on from the startup community, and also was very aware of Innovate Arkansas and what was going on with it. So basically, whenever the opportunity presented itself, and we had had this idea for a while and can mold it over for a little bit, we saw it as the perfect opportunity because it was local, and it was that opportunity for us to step out and try and do something different and do something on our own.
Actually, we have come from India, and we had the product when we are in India, and we had a few trial customers in India. And we want to expand it to the global market, and we did the research. When we did the research, we figured out like a lot of retail sectors is based out of Arkansas, and like Walmart and all the retail sectors. And that's the inspiration to see it. And we saw the news in the TechCrunch, and we applied for it, and we got selected this. And now we have trial customers running in Arkansas. The Acumen brands, we are running the trial. So it's pretty helpful, and what we thought is really great.
I wonder if some of you could talk about what a typical day in the Ark is working at the Iceberg. Is it all just like crumpled up fast food bags and stinky people coding with headphones on?
Yes. Who wants to take it?
So typically a day at the Iceberg, everybody gets there. Some people that are the morning people, they get there really early and they're working hard by then, and we usually have a break for lunch. So we either have lunch brought in or we'll go out in groups.
And sorry to interrupt, we talked about it a little bit, but maybe you could explain what the Iceberg is, what it looks like.
Right, so the Iceberg is a co-working facility in downtown Fayetteville, right by the Walton Arts Center. And it's kind of in the basement, and it's all painted white. You've got walls that you can write on with erasable markers and stuff, so you can throw your ideas up on the wall for other people to see and to work through together. And so we do that. We help each other out. We work together. If I have a problem with graphic design, I know there's a lot of people that are strong in graphic design there that I can just ask, and if they have a problem with something else that I'm strong in, then that happens vice versa. And then we have a lot of other entrepreneurs in Northwest Arkansas. They'll come and mingle with us and ask us questions and encourage us, but also provide the resources and ask the hard questions that we need to think through our business plans and to think through how we're going to make our companies happen.
Great, thanks.
Actually, with the entrepreneurs, the whole thing is what we think is right. That will be the mindset what we usually have. And when in the Ark, daily there'll be people coming in and validating that, and they'll tell you like what works and what does not work, and that really helps.
I have a lot more questions, but I want to open it up to the floor. Did you have questions? For Jeanette or for our entrepreneurs?
Let me get a mic too.
Wait for the mic.
Oh, well, I came in late, so I apologize if you explained this before, but are most of these phone-related tech startups, apps for your phone, companies that you access through your mobile phone?
Many of them are. Most of the teams, again, we're looking how do we launch a minimally viable product in time to test and present for demo day. Since we're only working for 3 months, a lot of the teams, based on their developer experience or on their resources, will either be working on a native iOS app that goes in, that could be submitted to the App Store, or a lot of people are just doing a mobile-friendly web application. But the majority of them are web-based or an app.
I'm curious how your deal is structured, or how you expect your deal to be structured. I'm curious, what do you expect to give up in terms of ownership and control of your company in return for that angel investor?
Actually, and this is something that we didn't cover, but in exchange for the mentorship, the investment, and the networking, the ARC Challenge, the ARC Investment Fund is providing that in exchange for 6% equity in each of these companies.
But you're looking for further investment.
Yeah. Well, it really all depends on your valuation. Once you get to a certain point and you can prove the concept, you know, when you're presenting to investors, you have an idea of your valuation and what your projections are. So that's really, it determines how much you're looking to give up. Obviously, none of us want to give up majority ownership like they do on Shark Tank all the time, but we want to be valuable enough to where we can justify taking enough money from angel investment or whatever that can keep us going for another 6 months to a year. And then at that point, we could either take more money or we're sustainable at that point. But none of us, I believe, want to take, give up more than 20, 30% at the most. You know, that's kind of your normal based off of the valuations at the end of the program.
And a lot of that, too, is based on what the investors bring to the table. So a lot of us are not just looking for cash investment, but also the connections that an investor brings to the table or the experience that they bring to the table. And so that plays into the role of equity that we're willing to negotiate as well.
Well, that segues into something that I was curious about. Startup guys are often the people who invest. The people who've been successful in startups are the people who then invest in other startups. We see this in Silicon Valley constantly. So I know that all of you are self-promoters, you have to be, but I'm curious if you guys were already successful, what company that's at the ARC would you invest in?
I'd invest in Truckly. I'd invest in Truckly because I love food. I like to eat, so that's what I would invest.
You could think on it. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Let me add one more thing about the investment. As part of the ARC Challenge, we raised $525,000 in private investment. That money went into each of the individual 15 companies, but there is going to be an opportunity. It's a challenge after all, that our selection committee will be choosing 2 of the ARC Challenge companies to offer follow-on investment of $150,000. Those terms will be negotiable, but they'll also be optional as well because we want it to be beneficial to both the teams as well as the investor.
Do you guys help with patent protection, that sort of thing? You know, when one problem with a startup company is that you can start some new product and once it becomes successful, some larger corporation says, hey, that's great, and we'll do the same thing and pretty much take you over. Do you assist with that?
We actually, Jeff Amorine he does a lot of the technology licensing with the university, and one of our mentors is Stan Baker, and he's an IP attorney, so he's available, again, to advise any of these companies on what do they do about patents or trademarks as they go forward.
Can you guys talk about some of the ways that the mentors have helped you, some of the specifics, a certain mentor, how they've...
One of the things when we came in, we really just wanted to have an app where you could find a food truck. So it was really just a basic information tool. Through the mentors we've got, specifically Jeff, he's got a large experience working with FedEx, doing a lot of the route planning and stop densities, and a lot of other terms that probably will just go right over your heads. It's just, that's been great. Now we know how to create more value, how to create more profitability in the industry, and that's really helped us get really our business and traction going upwards. So it's been great.
I mean, the trial currently running is in Acumen Brands. So Josh Clemens, he just offered us the first steps to make it work in their real-time systems so that we can really get the right feedbacks in the beginning so that we can make it meaningful very fast. I mean, it's all about how fast we adapt to the reality, so that's where it helps.
Josh was on the cover of the Arkansas Times several weeks ago, and it was his vision that led to the iceberg.
Who does your research into figuring out if you're coming up with something that's already been come up with, that you're not reinventing a business? Does you have someone whose job it is to make sure that these aren't duplicated tech efforts?
In my opinion, for every startup, it's the founders need to do that research because we need to know our business in order for us to be successful. We also need to know who our competitors are so that we're positioning ourselves to be in a specific area. It's called a blue ocean strategy, in an area where there's innovation as well as a benefit to the community. So at the end of the day, it really boils down to us. And if we were to pay someone to do it, it probably wouldn't be that quality of work, at least in my opinion.
Well, and ultimately the market tells you if you've come up with something, right?
Right, and part of what the founders are responsible to include in their pitches is that they have the competitive landscape. They list their top competitors, and then in addition to that, they show how they've differentiated themselves in that particular market. Through Innovate Arkansas, there's also an invention evaluator, and that provides some market research and reporting to these companies that really allows them to get a lot of research about their industry, how they are unique, and it helps them figure out how they differentiate themselves. We've actually had some companies, and even as late in the game as now, 7 weeks into the program, just in trying to find a domain name, they contacted the owner of that domain and the domain registry and found out, well, there's someone who wants to launch an idea similar to theirs at that same exact name. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to roll with the punches. And if you're passionate about that idea and if you have a team that can execute better, again, it all comes back to that unfair competitive advantage. Whether you're a first mover or whether you have a celebrity endorsement, our co-founders we believe, are equipped with the knowledge and the resources to figure out how they can beat that competitor.
We've talked a lot about the collaborative environment of working in this co-working space. At the same time, you have this very tight window to create a fully formed company. It strikes me that if I were in that situation, I wouldn't want to be helping, you're not competitors exactly, but I would be solely focused on my work. How does is it more just kind of this organic thing that you're drinking a beer and explaining what's going on, and maybe that helps somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's majority of the time we're focused on our own product. I mean, we're going to focus on our thing to get our job done, but it actually helps to take a break from time to time and talk to another team and figure out, and even whenever in the process of doing that, you'll actually find something that's very interesting. I'm going to review that and consider something similar, maybe not the exact same thing, but something similar to what they're going through and apply that to what we're working on. So it's actually nice to take breaks and help out someone else from time to time, because everybody knows, I mean, if you were just nonstop on your own, project, it can just, you'll kill yourself sometimes. So it's like you want to take a break, and it's a great way to do it. And we'll just kick a soccer ball around or something and just talk through issues together. So it's nice.
We need not see helping other startups as a time-consuming activity all the time. It's like we would have done a lot of mistakes when we started it, and if we can tell them what are the mistakes that we have done, if we can stop them from doing the same mistake again and again, so that itself would be a great help for other startups, and it's going to take very less time.
I have one more question. What number startup is this for you? Have you guys done previous ones?
This is my third. So I sold my first one. This is a plan B of my second one, which was American Beauty Association.
This is my second company, and our first company is still successful and profitable, and it's not, a market size is not as huge as we thought. So we are doing this project.
This is my number 4. One of them is still going on. One of them I sold out. The other one is shut down, so I'm happy to be on this.
This is like the first one that we could really consider a startup, coming from a web development background, and I know a bunch of web designers and developers. There's a handful of projects that we just did and have out there running, and are self-sufficient. So, this is kind of the first one where we're like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to need some financial backing for customer acquisition and so on. So that's where the art came in.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's my first one. So.
Jeff Amaron, who you guys have mentioned several times and who's one of our influential Arkansans, I think has done 7 or a dozen, it's sort of an impossible number, and has talked about sort of being addicted to startups. Do you guys think about it in that? I mean, sort of just hearing from, if this doesn't work, are you going to work and, go work for some corporate whatever, or are you going to keep doing this?
So I worked in corporate before coming here, and I mean, I love corporate, but I think this adds more value to the community, and where you can actually see progress of how you can actually basically touch people's lives and improves people's life. So that's the extreme value there. As opposed to working in corporate, it's more of you touch people's lives, but you get a paycheck, and it's not as gratifying.
I mean, probably if a financial situation is very bad, probably we might go to corporate, but this never dies. I mean, after 2 years, I'll save money and come back and start another company. That's how it is.
I'll just keep shaking my head to working at corporates and nodding for startups. I've done both worlds, and it's always fun to go into your own office and know that you're there for everyone else. And also, I've always worked at my own office as dog friendly. I've yet to find a corporation that'll allow me to bring my dog to work. So until that day, I'm in startups.
And what's great about being a part of a startup is you know that if you don't perform that day, then the office may be closed tomorrow. So there's that motivating factor of, yes, I have to perform at a top level every single day, or things aren't going to happen. So it's very enriching to see that every day you come to the office, the lights are on because you put in that hard work the day before.
Another thing that Jeff mentioned is that he eventually had to take a corporate job for the sake of his marriage. Those of you with significant others, how has this process worked, or your previous startup experience? Obviously a high stress, very time-consuming thing.
Yeah, like I said, I recently got married, so it's a really interesting.
And his spouse is right there.
Yeah, less than a year. So, and now the majority of my time is we live in Conway, and the majority of my time is in Northwest Arkansas. So it's stressful, but I've had I have a supportive wife, so it makes it a lot easier. And she knows my background from a web development standpoint, and the handful of other things that I've worked on and dealt with and stuff. And we always have people coming over and working on projects in our house and stuff. So she knows how it is, and she accepts that. But it is tough. She'll be glad whenever we can just set up stake with referral in Conway, and everything just stays there. So.
This is how you can.
Does anybody else have any questions? We get a mic.
I was interested in the last comments you were making about you're very passionate about this company, but then at some point you're just really up to selling it to somebody else. How does that work? I mean, are there startups that have such personal connection to it that they want to stay with it as a business because it's like it's your own infant? Or do most people just come in with the idea, as they did in the Silicon Valley days, let me just do a startup company, people will see this interesting and give me $5 million and I'm out of here. So how does that work?
I think there's a balance to it. I mean, if you're going to take on investor money, they want to see a return. So at some point you have to say, if the exit is right, then you're going to take it. If not, but then there's also, you can see the potential in your baby or whatever. So, if people are trying to get you to sell out or whatever, and you know that it's not the right time, then you stay on with it, and you want to be a part of that. But at certain times, you're actually hurting your company whenever you don't let it go. And so it's like there's certain points. If the right group comes along and they're interested in what you've built, you're actually hindering that growth of what you started by not stepping out.
So with the build upon that, with our company, we know it's a bigger idea than ourselves. So therefore, there's going to be a point where we're definitely going to have to either sell it off or fire ourselves at the end of the day, just because of the fact that it can move much faster, and it's so important for the larger brands, for Procter & Gamble, for Walmart, for Kroger, and so forth.
What we've found with startups is often the group that has the passion to start the company may not be the same leaders required to grow that company. And so it's very important for each of these founders to think about that, whether or not they want to take investment or grow it and continue to create value, and then consider overall what's best for them in terms of their careers and also what's best for the company.
Any other questions?
Just in terms of risk in general, like I was wondering, so you kind of touched on it earlier in terms of your backgrounds, but how many people left like stable incomes to pursue this new project, and how many people have like other side incomes that they sustain while doing this? And also similarly, like the risk that you're taking in the event that your startup would not succeed, and like what the implications to you guys would be for that.
It does make sense.
If we start a product, most of us are product companies. So if we start a product company with a mind of doing a service project side by side to mitigate the risk, probably that might take a lot of time and probably will not do both. So initially we thought of those options, but finally what we realized is those things will not work. Actually, you need more than 24 hours per day. So that option will not work. And every day it changes. A morning it will be something like, to highlight the factor of risk, morning it will be very hopeful, and evening it will be like, okay, why we are doing this kind of thing, and next day morning it will be again, it's right, because that's the way it changes, like ups and downs, and day in and day out, and we are used to it, so that's how it is.
Just to kind of follow that up, so you're basically asking, you know, why did we quit our jobs, or like, you know, do we quit good-paying jobs to come here?
Yeah, and also like, if you're, you know, what is the financial consequence for you if your project fails?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, to kind of touch on that, like, really, if the product fails, you can always go into the next idea, but going through these processes where you learn all of this, you wouldn't necessarily learn just by reading a blog, you know, actually living through it. You get the connections and stuff like, you know, meeting the people that invest, meeting the people that have influence in the industry that you're trying to get at. And they can get you placed in places, in other businesses that are also startup, because there's a certain mentality and a passion and a drive. And if you can portray that to other people, then, you know, you're an asset beyond anyone else. So definitely, if you're thinking about it, just go for it.
Well, also the ones like these guys here and the other groups, I mean, these are people that if it doesn't work out, you know, this idea doesn't work out, it's not like they're just starving homeless on the street. Like they all have a skill, we all have skills, we all have knowledge and background, and it appeals to a lot of different companies. So it's like, if it doesn't work out, there's a lot of opportunities still out there, you know, so it's not this or bust, you know.
There's a philosophical commitment that you have to make as an entrepreneur. One of our mentors, John James from Acumen Brands, what sort of their mantra is at their company is break things and fail fast. And so all of these founders, they sort of, they live that every day. And you get your threshold of, you have to be unafraid of failure. And when you look at thriving startup cultures in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, failure is not something to be ashamed of. There's a reason why those things happen, and it can be an emblem of honor, because each time you're learning something and it's bringing you closer to that idea that's going to work. All investors, entrepreneurs, you hear about their successful companies, and for every successful companies, there were many, many valiant tries before that failed, that required them to pivot.
Sorry for answering twice. It's a very interesting question. I mean, as you said, right, any entrepreneur, if you take even at Sun Microsystems or Cloud or anybody, they have 2 failure startups before that. So nobody knows about the failure startups of the successful people. Everybody knows only about their successful companies.
And usually it's through that failure that you can find other opportunities. So I know I keep a notebook, and I know several other people keep a notebook that have ideas that you find just as you go throughout this process. And so I always write those down, and then if this one doesn't work out, then I can just go to the next on the list and find the right people and do it again. So always be looking for those opportunities, even though you're working on one right now.
We have a weekly founders lunch every Wednesday, and usually we talk about what we've accomplished in the past week, what we plan to accomplish in the following week, and what we're struggling with. So it all holds everyone accountable. But there was one founders lunch where we decided to ask, let's have founder trivia. Tell us about projects that you have outside of the company that you're accelerating in the ARC. And again, if you know an entrepreneur, it's in an entrepreneur's blood to have multiple things going on, tons of ideas, that notebook, 1 million domains, 1 million ideas that they can execute on. And so for every single person standing up here, there's probably 3 or 4 startups or projects or what we call experiments that are happening. And the key is for them to figure out how to get enough income from all of those other experiments so that they can focus on the company that they're accelerating to bridge from launch to getting the required funding or getting the number of customers they need to go forward.
I want to really thank Jeanette and everyone from the ARC for coming down. Obviously, it was a big deal for them to leave their work on making these companies to be with us. I want to thank all of you for coming out to the first annual, we hope, Arkansas Times Festival of Ideas. Thank the Clinton School for hosting.